Welcome back, Nick Lenz, movie review, episode number 96. Yeah, this one I'm reviewing another one of my favorite childhood films. What film is it? Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Yep, I'm reviewing this particular film. Now you're probably thinking, what is with this case? Is this DVD? Nope, believe it or not, it is a VHS tape. Yep. Now, those of you probably curious about the box. You're probably thinking, okay, people see VHS nowadays, usually they're like pull down things. That's usually, this is how VHS boxes used to come back in the 90s. Yes. And as you can see, this is from the Masterpiece Collection of Disney. No, I'm not reviewing the whole Masterpiece Collection. It's basically, it's a marketing thing Disney did. They did it for this. They also had thing for their anime films they did in the 90s, which was basically the Renaissance. Yeah. This film was released in 1971, starring Angela Lansbury. Yes, the same woman who basically about 10 years later became famous, over 10 years later became famous with the Murder, She Wrote series. A very popular series that was on the air for 15 years. Yes, I have watched the show. Really long, but pretty fun to watch. Yep, this movie is technically one of two things she's famous for. The other, of course, being Murder, She Wrote. Not the only film I've seen this woman in. I've also seen her in The Original Returning Candidate. Yes, I have seen this film. It's in black and white. And I've seen her in a few other things. But this one basically is my first favorite of hers. Now, those of you probably wondering, who was the guy she's dancing? Who's the black top? Who's this guy with the nice suit and the black top hat dancing with her? That is David Tennyson. David Thomason. Yeah, this is one of two movies I've seen him in. The other, of course, is one of my mother's favorite movies, Mary Poppins. He played Mr. Banks. Yep, he played Mr. Banks. This one, he actually has a lot more better of a role. He actually is now the thing is, this movie takes place in April 1942. Basically, the U.S. has been in the war for about a few months at this point. And of course, this whole movie is set in pretty much with the exception of one scene. It's set pretty much in the United Kingdom. Yep. And yes, this film does involve the characters traveling on a freaking bed. Yes, I have seen beds like this. Have I ever slept on a bed like this? Yes, I have when I was younger. Yep. Basically old metal footboard. I personally don't have something like that. I have a wood. I don't have a footboard on mine. I have a headboard on my bed, but not a freaking footboard. Yep. Movie starts out basically with some guy just sitting on the beach, and he gets not on the beach. Basically, a guy British officers just driving around looking over this place called Pepperidge Eye. Now, I'm not familiar with UK towns. I have never heard of this place. And apparently you have this guy who just paints out signs because he was told to do this. Because apparently the Germans might be coming, because of the Nazis. Basically, the frickin' Germans. The thing is, when I read about World War II, Germany never invaded the UK. They never did. Yeah. They never landed any soldiers in the UK. That was mass hysteria. The only thing they ever did to the UK was heavily bomb London. Yeah, that's pretty much all they did. Yep.
Not you, TV. Are you doing a recording?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just starting laundry now. I'm going to watch one more episode.
Okay. Alright. So, pretty much we have, and we also see the character of Eglantine Price, played by Angela Lansbury, driving on a motorcycle with a sidecar. It's the 40s. Yeah, motorcycles back then do not look like the way they do nowadays. Nice, slick. This looked like an older, I'm not sure what year this particular motorcycle was. It looked like something out of the 30s. Yep. And it was a joke about, it was implied that, by a colonel who, I think was a general, I think it was, who says, oh, what's this thing? What's filled with sulfur? So we also have this marching band, basically this soldiers basically marching, singing a song like it's a group of looks like about 20 soldiers, I'd say, who basically do marches. One guy basically who's wearing like a helmet, his like you see while he's walking, his strap slowly goes up his chin and gets close to his mouth, almost to the point it could easily fall off. As far as I know, no one speaks this at all. They all just basically march, and then yeah, and then he talks to the British colonel briefly, and that's when Angleton shows up. He's like, "Good morning, General." And then he talks to the woman who's there. "Be a package you have arrived for us." Yes. It's like, and the British was like, "Who is that woman? Her late father served with me." So basically, the general was no friend of hers. How nice. Does this general actually appear after this scene? Yes, briefly toward the very end. The other guy does not physically appear after this. He disappears and is never seen again after the scene. Yeah, pretty much. We have like a general. We have like a receiving package. What's inside this package? A broomstick. Yep, a broomstick plus instructions. I'll get to that in a minute. So basically, she's volunteered to take in 3 kids, 3 siblings, mind you, a boy and 2 boys and a girl. It's like boy, girl, boy. Yep. It's like okay, so everybody just we have 2 of them right in the sidecar, one basically behind her because well, I don't think all 3 of them can fit in the freaking sidecar. So they go to her house, and it is pointed out though she's got a very big house. Now I should point out that at the time Angela Lansbury was doing this movie, she was 46. Yeah, she was 46. I looked up. She's currently this woman basically age like how old is this woman now? This woman is currently she is 93. Yeah, she is 93 years old currently. Well, she'll be turning 94 next month. Yep. David Thompson is actually not alive anymore. He passed in the 80s. Awesome actor. He was very good in this film. He, of course, died when he was 83. When he did this film, he was in his 50s. He was. I'm trying to look this up here. I think he's. Let's see, this came out in 71. So I think he was probably about 54 years old. Basically, he's about 5 years older than his, well, let's just say the woman he falls for. So takes kids home, and then it's revealed at night that well after they have like of course this is British food, mind you. Yes, I personally never tried British food. My mother has. I haven't. So tries out the frickin' food, and then to go to bed, and then, well, of course you have to wash for dinner, which that is actually something you probably definitely should do. Wash before dinner. Yeah, I do it all the time. It's a polite thing to do. I mean, it's quite rude to bring dirty hands to the table, and plus you might get germs, whatever. So then, of course, the kids are going to plan on running away. So tries out what's in the package. Well, it's a broomstick. Basically, it's revealed Eglantine is a freaking witch. Yep, a witch. And rides the broomstick. Not very good as she crashes. The broomstick actually breaks. It's one of the 2 times she rides the broomstick the whole movie. Yep. So, yeah, apparently the kids find out and they basically confess her. They had her basically blackmail her. So she tries another spell. Like, Perigi, Apogee, Perigi. Transforms the character Charlie into a white rabbit. Yep, it's quite hilarious. Oh yeah, and she also has a black cat, because witch have a black cat named Cosmic Creepers. Yep, this cat is so hilarious. This cat shows up several times in the movie. The German's like, what? Yeah. One of 3 times you see a transformation into a frickin' rabbit. Yeah. Yeah, and of course she was dared to turn into a toad, but she turned into a rabbit. And of course she's an apprentice witch. So basically it's Pearl's temporary. She runs up the stairs, gets spooked with cosmic givers, and then she transforms back. So there's that, and of course then they show off another spell of hers. They just basically like cast a spell basically on various objects. Basically, and of course they come across a knob. Yeah, from this bed, mind you. So she casts a spell on it, becomes basically a traveling spell. Tap the thing 3 times, turn it, and say where to go. Tap it 3 times, turn to the left, bam, done. And they use it. So they go to find Professor Emmett Brown in London. Yes, London, which in 1942, from what I've heard about, was pretty much nearly ruins. Though not entirely, anyways. They went to a very odd neighborhood with fog. Like, what was this? Basically, like the 19th century, all the fog. Yeah, from what I heard in the original novel, they actually went time traveling to the Great London Fire, to basically 1666. Why? I have no idea why. Apparently, they did it in the novel. I, of course, have never read the original novel that this film was based on. Yes, this movie is based upon a book. I have never read the book, and I know it was written by a woman. I personally have I've never read the book at all, surprisingly. And the full title of the book that this movie is based upon is called The Magic Bedknob, Bonfires, and Broomsticks. That's pretty much the name of the book this film is based on. So they go to London, they go to find Professor Brown, and of course the kids basically stay in the bed because, well, a bed in the middle of frickin' London, in one of the streets. So they push this bed around, and of course, she tells Carrie that's the girl, like, we found him, we found Professor Brown. And of course, and you have the little boy, what's the kid's name here? Because Charlie's the older one, then you have Carrie, Paul. Yeah, Paul. And basically, Emma Brown gives him like a whistle, and then he says, "Oh, I've been cheated." And of course, I do the magic. He says, "Is that Professor Brown?" And of course, he's smitten with her as soon as he sees her, and then basically talks about a book. But basically, with next spell, talks about why. And of course, they mention why the college closed. So they go to his house, a house that's not actually his. Yeah, apparently that the reason why he lived in the house, and here's the thing, apparently there was an unexploded bomb near this freaking house, so yeah, I gotta hand it to him. What a nice house you found. I mean, it's got food, it's got a library, a big, humongous one. It's basically like a mini mansion, though it's the UK. I'm not sure what the heck this mansion is, but okay. So they go searching for the book. They do eventually find it, of course. And, of course, Eglantine just basically wants to make him his assistant. So, yep. And, of course, he starts singing. And, of course, then he gets transformed into a rabbit. 1 of 2 times this actually happens in the movie. Actually, 1 of 3 times happened. Yeah. Why it was a white rabbit. Actually, first time she did this was actually out on the street. And then she transformed at the mansion. The 3rd time was actually he could transform himself later on in the movie. So he questions like, why always a white rabbit? Yep. Found the book. Of course, oh look, the traveling spell. And of course, I get the last page like, why are you closing the college? Because part of the book's missing. So they go and find where they got the book from. Of course, there's also a minor thing about Paul finding a book called Alan the Boom Boo, basically a children's book about animals wearing clothes. Okay. Oh yeah, and this basically becomes something you sell for later. So they go to this particular market, Portobello Road, streets where the line. It's a song they sing in the film. Yeah, because almost every scene has got a film because the film is a musical. The other songs are actually really good. So they go about looking out, and of course they have Eglantine looking at all the bookstores. You have Carrie trying various jewels. You have Charlie jumping out of bed, breaking it, and of course he was like, ooh, 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 doo, doo, doo. Don't mind me, I didn't do anything. Which I thought was so hilarious. And then they basically bring out like a big music where everyone starts dancing. Now I heard in the extended version of the scene, like when they restore a lot of deleted footage here, the scene goes on freaking forever. And it's a very good scene. Eventually, the guy, An old man with bells like, closing time, and then eventually you have the guy who works for the bookman. Yeah, that's referred to as the bookman. So this guy who pretty much brings out a fucking switchblade. Yes, a switchblade in 1942. Okay, so takes in the bookman with the bed because he can't leave the bed in the middle of London. That'd be quite stupid. So he's like reading his book, and then he hears the bed coming downstairs. Yeah, he's like, "Well, it's being Scotland Yard, why don't you? What's the bed for?" That was a line he said in the film that was so funny. It's a present for you. That's what he said. No, the bed's mine, except for this knob, which is mine. Yep. So, of course, they hit him with a knife, and of course, it's like, and they all just hop in the bed, like, we'll travel. So they turn the knob, they go to Island of Boo Boo, and that's where the animated footage comes in. First, they get to the island, but they land in the middle of the ocean. I'm like, okay, land in the ocean, you apparently can breathe in the water. It's a cartoon, so why the heck not? So they basically just float right through. Come particular dance, and that's where this particular cover image comes in. It's lovely, bubbly along in the bottom of the beautiful briny sea. Yeah, I've seen the movie many times, so that's why I know this particular song. I actually had to sing it before in front of a bunch of people. So after they get a thing, and of course the bait gets caught by a freaking fishing hook, and that's where this pair comes in. Yeah, this actually is quite funny. So then you have Emmett Brown just talking to the guy. He says, "Oh, what's up with Sailor 2?" And of course, he picks him up like this, trying to throw him back in the ocean. And of course, the sign says, "No peopling allowed." Apparently, no humans. So wait a minute. Anybody can see the king. That's all. Where does it say that? Here, me book. So it does. He just drops him. He's like, "Go see the king." Okay. So apparently Emmett Brown goes inside and just smooches him up, basically. And apparently the guy is a big fan of soccer. Yep, soccer. Because the UK loves frickin' soccer. So then we cut to a soccer game. Of course, they have Egglin Price and the three kids in the VIP box. Not a bad idea. And of course, the king is, of course, the king is a frickin' lion, and the pelican, I think he's an ostrich. He says he's the world's greatest soccer player. He probably isn't, but he probably is in this island. Yeah, so they play, and of course, then he wins 1-0. Despite the fact the field was destroyed, and they steal his little medallion, and of course, well, apparently they swipe it. Well, he's not noticing. Well, he swipes it while he puts on his cape, his robe. It's like, here, let me put on your robe. Like, okay, quite nice of you to do. Yep. And Pepper switch. And of course, he looks away. And that's when he swipes the badge. And of course, they all run away, get on the bed. They of course go back home, and gotta try out that spell. And the thing disappears. But luckily enough, Paul has it in his book. And then, of course, they basically take off. They have Emma Brown take off his shoes in the spell room, mind you. And then we have like Shaguna, Macoides, Jacordum, Satis T. Yeah, that's the spell basically that she cast. And he's like, nothing happened. And all of a sudden, the shoes start moving. Yeah, it's revealed behind the scene. This is all done via fishing wire. Yes, fishing wire made all these things move. We have a pair of shoes, like stockings, a freaking nightgown, and a preacher's hat. Yeah, the preacher pops up early on in the movie. It's so funny. And the spell doesn't last very long. Eventually, apparently the nightgown, the flying nightgown dress, like scares the preacher, and you're like, ah. He's like, it's going to attack him. And she comes out and is like, do you mind? I thought it was so funny. Runs in, and of course, everything goes back to normal. And eventually, like, okay, let's see what I go to town and get some for supper. Okay, so they have dinner. And apparently it's implied he's been there for quite a while. I'd say about a month. And then, of course, well, then the lady comes by, something. It's like, very farms. Like, nah, we're never mind, we're Keith Muir. And of course, like, I go. And that's when the Germans show up when he leaves. Yep, the Germans arrive frickin' U-boat. Yep, a U-boat. They come in, knock out a soldier on the Coast Guard. I think they knock him out or kill him. They don't really show what's going to happen to him. He's like, no, we take the train back to London. Like, no train in the morning. He's like, okay, I'll stay here. Good night. And he sleeps on the bench. Sleeps a while. Of course, he daydreams about basically, I'm going to time basically be assistant. And then he spots a couple of Germans cutting power lines. Yep. Now, what did they cut these power lines with? Is it scissors? Nope. Wire cutters. Yep. And then he's like, oh crap, it's the frickin' Germans. He just walks quietly, and he just runs inside the old German side, and he just punches them. It's like, Eglantine. And then, of course, he gets back to her house. And then all of a sudden, the Germans basically storm her frickin' house. It's like, this is not an invasion, just an exercise. An exercise in enemy territory. Really? Stupid idiot. And of course, he tries to transform into a rabbit. It's like, keep him in my bunker room. It's like, okay. And of course, they all like basically cause a ruckus. And then they go straight to a museum they were seeing actually early on in the movie. Yep. They all basically get locked in there. And then, of course, Emmett basically sees, like, the Germans at the place. And, of course, he breaks in pretty easily. He goes through a window. And then it's like, okay. It's like, damn, we're things properly. And if he finds the spell of the transformation, it's like, and, of course, he reads it off and says, that's it. And he puts a stool in front of a mirror and casts a spell himself. And, of course, two Germans are like, what? Like, someone's in there. And they open the door up. And there's a rabbit. They're like, and they both basically look at you like, what? How the heck did a rabbit get in here? And of course, he runs off to London. He runs off to a nearby village, where they're basically, and of course, Paul trying to get out the bars, like saying that maybe just shove him down, cover him with soap. Like, nah, like, and of course, and he gets in no problem. And of course, he hops on her lap. He says, "Huh? Where does rabbit come from? It must be Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown." He winks at her and says, if you're Mr. Brown, would you kindly get out of my lap? And he transforms back to Mr. Brown. Yep, it says, we gotta get out of here. We gotta take out these Germans. So, basically, Carrie finds her broomstick. And they cast the very same spell. And it becomes my favorite scene of the whole movie. Cast a spell. And then we have the montage sequence of suits basically all suiting up by themselves. And then you hear a German basically outside the museum. He's like, what the heck is that? Opens the door, and he gets sucked with a freaking metal arm. And apparently, no one in the village apparently hears metal footsteps in the village. No one notices it at all. They notice it later when they hear freaking gunshots. Yep. And then eventually, like, they hear, like, a bunch of noise. They're like, what the heck is that? And then, of course, they look up at the hill, like, oh, crap, that's a humongous army of knights, crusaders, basically redcoats from the American Revolution, basically Scotsmen playing bagpipes. Heck, even, they were shocked to see basically sentient bagpipes. And he had this guy from the Crusades, like, look up, he's like, you guys ready? He's like, yep. Enters the left. Yep, ready. And they start marching to the Germans. And they're opening fire on them. And it does nothing. I'm surprised these guys don't bring a freaking tank with them. Yep. So basically they have, like, Emmett basically put on a Napoleon-style hat. Because why not? Says, here's the kickoff. Yep. And they all start marching in. Of course, they chant like the song that basically, they chant the spell that basically activated them. And of course you have Eglantine on a broomstick. And what's in the tail of the broom, the business end? Why, it's a British flag, of course. Because why not? And of course she has a sword that says, march on. Of course, they all take orders from her because she's the one that activated them, which I thought was so hilarious. And then eventually you have a German who just walks up to the soldier, the thing just stops a moment, looks inside, and he takes the thing off. And then he just puts his hand through, like, what? Nothing. He puts his other thing down, and he gets kicked in the butt. I thought this was funny. Then he decides, and then when their soldier just shoots a guy in the freaking face. That was so funny. And of course, he starts, like, shoots at him, like, 6 times in the gut, and then the helmet opens up by itself, and shoots all 6 bullets, and just, like, boing, 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 like, look, and he just takes out his gun, and he sticks it through, like, and he gets bounced in the head with a freaking mace. Yes, an iron mace. There's one basically whose helmet's knocked off. Emma catches it, throw it back to us like, well caught, sir. And of course the guy just picks the gun, smashes it in half, and he just swings it around and rips on the guy's neck, which that was so hilarious. Yeah, and of course they all get spooked by a bunch of empty knights who've got no people inside them at all. And eventually they decide to line dynamite up at Eglantine's house for some reason, which blows up her spell room. And of course, they all run away, like. And of course, says, "Hi, Colonel, what's up?" So there is a witch. I thought you said there was no such thing as a witch. It's like, and of course they all run away, and of course the activate thing, of course, she gets knocked over, and all the knights basically all get knocked out. Their power basically is out, so they all have to stop. And then basically we have like, because all the gunshots going off, we have to have the local guard basically come in. Like, when is he woken up by a bunch of metal footsteps outside their frickin' door? Yeah, apparently that didn't wake him, but gunshots did. Okay. So then they come to the shore, open fire on the Germans, and he's like, that's it. They're done. And they cut the next morning, where apparently Emmett Brown has moved in with Eglantine, and he's off to join the war. Yep. Gives a kiss goodbye, and that's when the movie ends. Fantastic movie. Give this movie a 10 out of 10. It's fantastic. I mean, the movie came out roughly 48 years ago. I first saw this film back in the 1990s. The film is just fantastic. Fun to watch. Despite the fact I heard at the time basically got mixed reviews. I'm like, what's so bad about this movie? I mean, it's a fun Disney movie to watch. Anybody is a fan of basically, like, musicals. Like, if you want a good musical, highly recommend checking this out. I'm surprised they never did a follow-up with this one, which I would have thought, though, because the film did gross a good amount of money. Apparently at the box office, movie grossed, like, the budget was $6.3 million. Excuse me. And then the movie grossed, like, that was the budget, $6.3 million. The box office was $37.9 million. Okay. I would have thought, though, that I don't think they're going to do a remake of this movie anytime soon. I don't think Disney wants to. Probably because it's a beloved classic film, and Disney does not do remakes of films they've already made. Well, films that are made in live action. They've done live action remakes of cartoon films they made, but not live actions they already made. Yep. Not much else to say with this movie, but it is awesome. I highly recommend you check it out. It is a great movie to watch. I also recommend tracking down the lead and seeing some of the leads that I saw were really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has great songs in it. Like, this movie is a pure classic movie. If you want a good Disney movie, this is definitely a good one for you. You want a good musical, definitely a good one for you. If you're a fan of Angela Lansbury, check out this movie. This movie is fantastic. Okay? So yeah, that's a particular review. My next review, a comic corner, okay? Tuesday next review. Bye.